At the beginning of the last century, the Ottoman Empire began to disintegrate. A crucial period in its history is considered to be the years 1920 to 1924, when Mustafa Kemal Ataturk initiated the transformation of the empire into the Republic of Turkey. The lives of ordinary people became challenging, and the palace eunuchs lost their status and fell into poverty. Sultan Abdulhamid II acquired 22 black young boys from Abyssinia for the palace's needs after the betrayal of the Sudanese eunuchs. The Sultan decided to expel the Sudanese and hire new eunuchs from other countries. Slave traders presented 22 Abyssinian young boys in accordance with the Sultan's decree, and one of them, Nadir-Aga, became a prominent figure. Several years before the described events, Nadir, a child from a large family, lost his parents and became an orphan. He learned Arabic literacy and was sold to Istanbul slave traders. When Abdulhamid II issued the legendary decree to replace the Sudanese with other black servants, Nadir's fate was sealed, and he entered the palace along with a group of boys, waiting for an audience with the Sultan for 4 days. 12-year-old Nadir was very nervous when he entered the palace, but the Sultan himself began to speak with him in Arabic and reassured him. Thus began the career of one of the last eunuchs of the empire. In 1909, Sultan Abdulhamid II was deposed from the throne by the decree of the Sheikhul Islam Ziauddin Effendi. Nadir, who at that time held an important position in the palace and served as the governor of the Sultan's children, found himself in a difficult situation. When the rebels stormed the palace, they immediately seized Nadir and began to interrogate him to find out the whereabouts of the Sultan's treasure. Under the threat of violence, Nadir disclosed the location of the treasure. The rebels, preoccupied with the division of power and wealth, decided to spare Nadir-Aga. They rewarded him with money and allowed him to leave the palace. After the end of his comfortable life in the palace, Nadir-Aga had to start working. However, a miracle happened. After a rapid change in power in Istanbul, in the suburb of Göztepe, there remained a herd of 40 purebred Crimean cows that had been brought specifically for the Sultan's family. The herdsman, who had previously cared for them, passed away, and one of the eunuchs who had lived in this house before suggested to Nadir-Aga to join him in taking care of this herd. According to some reports, he even bought this herd with his own money. Since there were no legal owners of the herd, Nadir-Aga and his companions relatively quickly reached an agreement with the new authorities that they would produce milk for the less fortunate people at a low cost. Bottled milk was already being sold in Europe at the time, and Nadir-Aga became one of the first in Istanbul to start selling milk in glass bottles. From that moment on, his business prospered, and he became a well-known entrepreneur in Istanbul. A few years after these events, Nadir-Aga became the owner of a dairy farm, several shops, and a mansion in the suburbs of Istanbul. He overcame his childhood suffering and became a prosperous man who never needed assistance. Nadir-Aga remained well-dressed, witty, and sensitive, working for the benefit of society until his last days. In honor of the most successful eunuch of the Ottoman Empire, formerly known as Nadir-Aga, a street in the Göztepe district of Istanbul was named Nadir-Aga. He is also buried in the İçerenköy cemetery in this area.